This year, the world has lost more music artists than ever before. And no loss is felt more in the country music community than that of the great Merle Haggard. For most of the country music singers today, Merle Haggard defines country. They listened to his music, mimicked his writing and singing style, and hope that one of their songs might one day be compared to the Hag. Greatness like this doesn't come along very often. Here at Country's Family Reunion, we believe in bringing honor to whom honor is due. And setting aside a time to remember Merle Haggard is at the top of that list. Merle had agreed to be on this series, but sadly went home on his 79th birthday. This series is our tribute to him. All three of his sons are here, as well as a ton of his friends and fellow artists, and hosted by Whispering Bill Anderson. Together, they remember Merle Haggard as he really was. A father, a friend, a great songwriter, and of course, one of the biggest legends in country music history. Welcome to Country's Family Reunion Tribute to Merle Haggard.
We're remembering the music and the man, Merle Haggard, on a very special edition of Country's Family Reunion. I always thought John Conley was from Kentucky, but he's fixing to say he's an Okie from Muskogee. I don't know if we can believe him or not. Mr. John Conley.
We don't smoke marijuana in Muskogee. We don't take our trips on LSD. We don't burn our draft cards down on Main Street. 'Cause we like living right, being free. We don't make a party out of loving, but we like holding hands and pitching woo. We don't let our hair grow long and shaggy like the hippies out in San Francisco do. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave Old Glory down at the courthouse, and white lightning's still the biggest thrill of all. Leather boots are still in style if a man needs footwear. Beads and Roman sandals won't be seen, and football's still the roughest thing on campus. And the kids here still respect the college dean. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave Old Glory down at the courthouse, and white lightning's still the biggest thrill of all. And white lightning's still the biggest thrill of all.
In Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great job, John.
Thank you.
John Conley.
Thank you.
That song, Marty, was kind of a double-edged sword for your dad, wasn't it? I mean, obviously it was a monster hit, biggest thing he'd had in his career at the time, and yet people tried to label him like politically, they tried to read a lot of stuff into that. How did he handle that?
Very well. He's done pretty good since then. Dad said that Okie took him took him off hamburger and put him on steak, okay? So he'd had him 13 #1 records in a row before it come along. But, you know, he followed that up with Fight Inside of Me, which is, to me, even more of a in-depth song about the beauty of America. You know, how can you not be somewhat proud of the country that we lived in? You got to understand something. Dad was sent to San Quentin Prison in 1958 for a 1 to 15 year stint. He was released in 1960. And in 1970, he and my whole family were sitting in the White House by invitation of President Nixon. Now, where else in the world can you go from the jailhouse to the White House in 10 years? Yeah, he was a little bit proud of America.
Yeah.
And Marty, right after that, he quit eating red meat, too, by the way.
He wasn't perfect, okay?
I saw him perform at the White House.
Yes.
With, you might have been there too,
were there.
Ronnie, with the Osborne brothers.
I was there.
That's actually, I think, just before you started with Dad.
It was.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
did
right
backflips on Lincoln's bed.
You did backflips on Lincoln's bed?
Yes, sir.
With him in it?
No. All by myself.
Can I tell you this story about Noel?
Please.
At the White House, the party that President Nixon and Mrs. Nixon were having, I think it was President Nixon's birthday.
Yeah, he had a joint session. He couldn't make it. Yeah.
Well, Nixon was,
We know which one is the comedian in this group. Yeah.
at least he thinks he is, okay.
Oh, you're funny.
No, we couldn't go to the show because there was going to be drinking in it. And the Nixons realized that it might not be politically correct or a good optical thing if they seen a bunch of kids where alcohol was. So they had to cancel us going to the show, but to make up for it, Mrs. Nixon and President Nixon invited all of us kids up to the 3rd floor of the White House. And we spent that day up in the 3rd floor of the White House, which is their living quarters. And very first thing, I was probably 14. I looked like Greg Brady, you know, the patent leather belt, and, you know, this is in the mid-'70s, I mean, 1970. But anyway, Noel, he was a little kid. And Noel's head, when he was born, was bigger than his body. And he grew into it.
I was a preemie.
He was a preemie. But his head was great big, okay? And we get in there, and Mrs. Nixon gets us some cookies and milk. And Noel, right out of the box, the first bite of that cookie goes down the wrong pipe, right? And he starts choking. And Mrs. Nixon's over there beating on his back, right, trying to get him.
It was
And
before the Heimlich.
that great big head looked like a stop sign. He was so red. And that was a funny story, just watch him
It's
choking.
in the green room, by the way.
Which one of them do y'all think? Because Marty and Noel both look like Merle in kind of different ways. Which one looks the most like him?
Benny?
They both look, you don't look like each other, but you both look like Merle.
I think Noel looks like Dad when he was younger. I think I look like Dad after he died. Oh, cold. I'm extremely...
Hey, I'm the funny one. Don't be stealing my lines, mister.
Of all the great Merle Haggard songs, and we're hearing them here today, and we're going to keep hearing them, not every song that even Merle Haggard wrote and recorded was a hit. I mean, nobody bats 1,000. Tia Goins is going to do a song. Tell me about this song, because it's new to me.
Well, it was on a record that Merle did back in 1979, and it was written by Merle and Red Lane. And Red Lane and I met him when I first moved to town, and we became friends, and I never had the opportunity to meet Merle, but I felt like I knew him by knowing Red, because, you know, Red was on the road with him for so many years, and when this song came to my attention from Red, I just couldn't pass it up. It was one of those things. Merle and Red both had a way, they had just a complex simplicity about the way that they wrote. And the things that they said were so simple, but they were so deep at the same time, you know. And this song, to me, just pinpoints that exactly. And so I'm honored to do it today.
I didn't hear all the words yesterday in your rehearsal, but I heard enough to know that you're spot on in what you're saying. And I love the line about now and then and now again.
Yes.
That is just an
that line to me is like the best line ever written. I love the way that they put this song together. So
makes me want to go home and burn my poetic license. How about singing it for us?
I'd be happy to.
Tia Goins. The song is called I Didn't Mean to Love You. John, while she's getting ready, you got any Merle Haggard stories? Did y'all tour together?
We did a few shows together, but we weren't around each other nearly as much as I would have liked. I mean, I never got to really get to know him, but like everybody else, I appreciated him so much. I know that when he passed, we happened to be getting ready to go on the road to Georgia, had a 7-hour trip. I drove the bus all night, and I listened to nothing but Merle all night long on the drive, and I heard all the singles, and I never had to repeat one, and I didn't get to them all.
Can I say a quick thing about John?
Please.
John, you don't know this, but when your first album, Rose-Colored Glasses, come out,
Right.
And it was just like, to me, it was such a refreshing sound. Me and Leona Williams fell in love with you. Okay, but my dad was a little bit on the jealous side. Before he even got to meet you, he hated you.
I'm so sorry.
Because you were singing "Son of a Gun," and me and Leona just fell in love with your voice. We just kept raving about you, and I think my dad got tired of hearing about you.
Well,
You know,
bless your heart.
John and I did a show with Merle at the Oil Palace. And man, we had fun.
Oh, yeah.
It was really fun that night.
Years ago, when I was first starting out, before he, I guess, started hating me, we found ourselves near Lake Shasta, and we had some time off between shows for some reason. And Merle, in his generosity, let us take his float boat out on the lake for the day.
Yeah. He was hoping you would drown.
What's a float boat?
No.
It was great.
No, he fell in love with you.
I wish I could have known him better.
He loved your singing. He loved you. I was just honest, but before he met you, again, Leona wouldn't shut up about you, and I think it just made him jealous. And so I'm seriously
Maybe she
tongue in
should have
cheek.
married John.
He didn't hate you.
I understand.
You know,
I loved him.
Well, you're an awfully great
he
singer,
had
my
that
friend.
club out there in Lake Shasta. I played that club in Lake Shasta.
Silverthorn?
Yeah. I remember it was the most dangerous place in the world to take a bus. Oh, my God, it scared me.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the
Scared
bar.
me to death.
It was too.
But I went to see your dad was in his boat, and I'll never forget, Merle was sitting there in his living room. He had a hole in the floor of the boat, and he's fishing.
Catfish.
And watch TV. Watch
Big
TV.
screen television with a whole area.
Yeah.
And a massage table close by, yeah.
Oh, he had it.
That's fishing in style right
I
there.
mean, that's the way to do it.
Pardon
right
my
there.
ignorance, but how do you have a hole in the bottom of your boat and not sink?
Bucket had a whole pontoon boat.
It was a pontoon boat.
The boat had a
Yeah.
whole.
Up on platoons.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
it was a great big hole. It was made of this thick of glass, and they would pull it up. It was just for night, so we'd catfish. Because he was a bass fisherman. But at nighttime, he was ate up with fishing. And that was our pastime at nighttime, was fish right out of the living room.
Was that his number one hobby when he
Oh, yeah.
wasn't picking and singing?
Oh, absolutely. Until he met Willie Nelson. That became his second. That became his second favorite thing.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When Willie bought this golf course, and I've always played golf. Vince always beats me at golf, and we went out there, and Merle decided he was going to come out and play some golf, I guess, and he shows up on the first tee in cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, and about fell over trying to swing, but so he gave up golf.
I saw Willie and my dad do a 5-mile run in cowboy boots. That was country and cornbread.
Song's called I Didn't Mean to Love You. We didn't forget about you. Tia Goins.
It's all right.
I didn't mean to miss you, but I do. I didn't want you, but I do. Didn't mean to think about you. Thought I could live without you. Didn't mean to love you, but I do. Didn't mean didn't mean to love you, but I do. I didn't mean to call you, but I did. Thought I could keep my feelings hid. Meant to love you now and then. Looks like it's now again. I didn't mean to love you, but I did. Didn't mean to let you know. I didn't mean to tell you so. I didn't mean to come back to you. I didn't mean to love you, but I do. I didn't mean to love you, but I do. Yes, I do.
So good. Chia Goins. Chia, how did you say that a while ago? You said something about simplicity.
Complex simplicity.
Complex simplicity.
You know, I mean, that song is just so raw, and I think that's what everyone can relate to with Merle's music, is you can understand it, but it's so deep. You know, I mean, it's just, there's so much there, and so simple of a way of stating it. He just had a way of doing that that speaks to everyone. That's why everybody loves that music and could feel everything he ever lived through, everything he ever went through. I mean, his music is about as authentic as it can get.
Give me that line again about now and then.
Meant to love you now and then, looks like it's now again.
Vince, why didn't me and you write that?
Yeah.
Man, that's good. That is
great.
so good. Beautiful job
Thank
on the
you.
song,
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah. Bobby Bear, I bet you got some Merle Haggard stories in your treasure chest. Did y'all work together a lot?
Well, yeah. You know, Merle and I go way back, way back.
Did y'all know each other when you were still living in California before you came
Yeah,
here?
that's where I met Merle. I first got to California in '54, and I was playing about a block down from Wynn Stewart. So Wynn and I became very, very close, like brothers. And then eventually Wynn, well, while we were out there, there was me and Wynn and Harlan Howard was hanging out in the club we were playing, trying to pick up women. And we didn't know that he was going to be a great songwriter. That's how I met Jan. And of course, Hank Cochran was running around there. And then Wynn opened up a nightclub in Vegas called Nashville, Nevada Club. And he hired Merle to play bass with him. And that's when I first met Merle. I think it was in like '62. I went over to hang out with Wynn, and Merle was playing bass. It was Merle, Rob Mooney on steel, Roy Nichols on guitar, Helen Peaches Price on drums. And it was a great band. And Wynn sang me a song that he'd just written called Sing a Sad Song. And I said, man, that's great. And that wound up being Merle's first record, because Merle told me that when before he went to work with Wynn, that he made a deal with Fuzzy Owens that Fuzzy would produce a record on him if he'd come up with the song. And so Merle felt like that song of Wynn's was the song. So he sat down one day with Wynn and he said, Wynn, if you had a chance to make me a star, would you do it? And Wynn said, sure. He said, let me record that Sing Sad song. And Wynn said, okay. And he called Fuzzy and said, Fuzzy, I got the song, and they got together and they recorded it. And of course, it was great. It was great, and that was the beginning of Merle's recording career. When,
Did you and Merle ever go fishing together? You're a big fisher.
oh yeah, I got one Sunday morning about 3:30, I got a call. My phone rang, and it was Merle, and he said, let's go fishing. And him and Hank Cochran were on a houseboat, and that's when I lived on Whiskey Lake. They were on a houseboat, and Hank, he was out, and Merle, he wanted to fish. And so I said, all right. I said, I'll be right down. And I grabbed my rod, still pitch dark. And I said, I'm ready to go. I said, I got to come in by noon because I got to fly to Pittsburgh. And I went down and hopped on a boat. Me and Merle, we fished on Hickory Lake till well after daylight. Till the sun got up and it got hot. Yeah. And, well, Merle got those places to fish out of his house. And I think it was last year or year before last, I can't remember. I spent about a week out there with Merle. We was working on a project. And he's got good fishing around his house. His wife, Teresa, is a good fishing lady. She caught some bass and filleted them up and fried them up, and they were the best I ever ate. I didn't think anybody could fry fish as good as me. But she did. We ate them, and a lot of people think Merle was a sad person, but he wasn't. Merle was, in my opinion, he was one of the funniest guys I know. I mean, we would sit and laugh for hours out there at his house. Well, Ben knows. He probably thought we were gone crazy or smoked too much weed or something. Merle can do a great impression of Ralph Mooney. He can talk just like Ralph Mooney. And oh God, and all the people, Merle and I know all the same people out there because we both started out there. And the first thing I ever recorded in my life is Mike Wiseman produced it on me up at Bakersfield, up at Lewis's studio. And that was in 55, wasn't it?
57, I think.
I don't think it was that late.
Might not have been.
No, this was, I think it was more like 55.
Oh, okay.
Now, was this the All-American Boy?
No, this was before that.
Oh, really?
Yep. It was the first time I was ever, Mac was running Dot Records out there, and he's the first guy to ever take an interest in me as a recording artist. Speedy West was the one that was promoting me. And Speedy and I and Mac went up to Bakersfield, got some stuff there. And so Merle and I know all the same people, and there's nobody left for us to talk about all of our old friends with. So it's really great. That's one thing bad about getting old, because you got nobody to say, remember old so-and-so? Yeah. Remember that crazy son of a bitch?
Bobby, was you there when Red Simpson caught the record bass?
No.
And ate it.
Yeah.
He ate it, didn't he?
Yeah, well,
He ate it out of Kern River.
Merle heard about it. He caught this record bass out of the Kern River over there or something. Merle said, man, somebody go tell Red I'd give him $500 for that fish, and that way I could take a picture of it, and I'd get on the sports magazine, this, that, and the other. Somebody went and told Red, hey, Merle offered you $500 for that fish. Red said, damn, I wish I could throw up.
Hey, Ronnie.
He ate a world record bass.
Hey, Bill.
I have been trying my entire life to catch a smallmouth bass over 6 pounds. Yeah. Well, Merle sent me a picture of Teresa holding a smallmouth bass well over 6 pounds. It was huge. And it broke my heart. I've been trying my whole life, and I can't do it.
He sent it to you.
But I think Merle actually is, as I was telling Buddy a while ago, I think he is plugged in and had a secret view into the heart and soul of the average person. I mean,
well, whoever called him the poet of the common man? I mean,
Ralph Emery.
Was he the first person?
I believe he was. You know what?
Boy, that nailed it, though.
Yeah, Bob Eubanks. Yes, it was Bob Eubanks, yeah.
Oh, was it Bob?
Yeah, we can't give Ralph the credit. No.
Merle Stradamus.
I was on a show with him one time when the MC went to introduce him and introduced him as the Poe and common man.
The poor.
Hey, think about that a while.
Poe.
How about a song, Bobby?
Okay. I haven't sang this song before, but it's my favorite feel-good song. This thing is all wrapped up.
Well, that's good.
And I still haven't figured out who was playing guitar on the record.
It was Grady Martin.
Was it Grady, or was it
Reggie?
Or was it Reggie?
Red was doing acoustic work, but Grady did the electric.
See, I still don't know. Crank that thing up, Jimmy Caps, and let's do Rambling Fever. I don't hang on the same nail too long. My ears can't stand to hear the same old song. I don't leave the highway long enough to walk down in the mud. 'Cause I got rambling fever in my blood. I caught this rambling fever long ago, when I first heard a lonesome whistle blow. Someone said I ever gave a damn. They damn sure told you wrong. 'Cause I've had rambling fever all along. Rambling fever kinda can't be measured by degrees. Rambling fever ain't no kind of cure for my disease. Yeah, boy. I'd like to bed down on the sofa and let some pretty lady rub my back. Spend the early morning drinking coffee, talking about when I'll be coming back. 'Cause I don't let no woman tie me down. I
too old to get around. Wanna die along the highway and ride away like some old highline pole. Yeah, restless rambling fever in my soul. Rambling fever, the kind that can't be measured by degrees. Rambling fever, there ain't no kind of cure for my disease. Bury it. I love it.
Great job, Bobby. Great job. Pretty good job by this band up here, too. We haven't thanked them officially today. Dirk Johnson, Mike Johnson, Hank Singer, David Smith, Jimmy the Sheriff Capps, Les Singer, John Gardner. Did I leave anybody out? And Dennis McCall and Nora Lee Allen and Jamie Martin doing the backgrounds over there. Everybody, wonderful as always. Jimmy Capps and Mo Bandy got on the same shirt today. A real good salesman came through town, didn't he?
I went out, I saw he had that shirt, and I went out and bought me a vest before the show.
So you won't look too much like him?
Well, but he produced my last record, so we kind of run together, you know, he and I.
Don't ever say your last record. Say
Well,
your
my
latest.
Latest,
Don't ever
yes.
say my last record.
Latest. But anyway,
Ray Benson with the great group Asleep at the Wheel. Tell me about your association and friendship with Merle.
Well, when it started the band in 1969, we were a bunch of long-haired hippies and wanted to play country music and loved Merle Haggard, and so we started the band, and when Okie from Muskogee came out, we was like, oh man, wait a minute, we love this guy. And then I remember like grandpas, some of the guys had that, I'll fix your flat tire, Merle, because we just love the guy, So anyway, we got the band, started cutting music, started doing Bob Wills music, and all of a sudden, had a couple hit records. We got a gig with Merle at the Felt Forum in New York City, the Madison Square Garden. And that was the band with Ronnie and Eldon and Tiny Moore, and we talked about all that, Leon and everybody. And so it's time for sound check, and we all went up there and just started jamming, and it was one of the highlights of my life. Because Hag put out the album, Tribute to the Best Damn Fiddle Player to Bob Wills in 1970, I think it was. And, both all of us and we had all these, back in 1970, there was no internet. So trying to find Bob Wills music, we'd go into everywhere. Like we'd go to Lower Broadway and buy 78 records. Now, and we'd try to hear what's the bass player doing? What's the, and you couldn't hear too good. And so Merle puts out this album, and it had Johnny Gimbel, it had Eldon, it had all the great Playboys and Hag's band. And we just wore that dang thing out and learned how to play Western swing, So I guess it was, we were so enamored with Hag that it was just so nice that he would, include us as, you're gonna let us jam, and so that was the beginning of it. And then, gosh, we played shows, of course, and then we did records with him. And the thing about Merle Haggard was this. We loved the great three-chord country songs he did. We did them all. But Hag, did Western swing, Dixieland, blues, every kind of music. And here was a guy who had the #1 record with Okie from Muskogee, Fighting Inside of Me. And what did he do next? Tribute to Bob Wills, tribute to Jimmy Rogers, tribute to the Trains, et cetera. All these incredible things which brought the whole of country music to the world, because country music is not just three-chord songs. Country music is such the most varied music, from bluegrass, Cajun music, Western swing, honky-tonk, et cetera. And Hag embodied all of it, and that's what to me was so amazing. The depth of what he did musically was incredible. So You know, we got to do a bunch of Bob Wills tunes with him. I'll tell you one story, which in 1992 we did our first tribute album, and he said, so he came down to Austin to my studio and pulls up on the bus. I said, and I figured Hag knew every single Bob Wills song and every version. And they said, Hag, you're going to do St. Louis Blues? He went, I don't know that. I said, really? Because it was one of Bob's signature tunes. He had his own version of it. It was really, he did his talking thing in the middle and everything. I said, really? And we had it all worked up with horns and everything. So I gave him a copy of the 78, and we're on there working, and he comes in from the bus, and it was unbelievable. He sang this thing. It's a falsetto singing. Bob Wills would sing falsetto. And he sang it, killed it. We have a video. We did a video of him doing it, and it's unbelievable that the man in 10 minutes on the bus listening to this thing came in and just killed it. So, you know, what can I say? The artistry of Merle Haggard is what always just blew me away. And
the song that you've picked to do of his is not a three-chord country song.
No, it's not.
A lot of jazz influences in this.
Yeah, that's why I picked it.
Come up and do it for us, minus Asleep at the Wheel. Although you got one of your members here.
She'll be up right in the middle.
Talk to Miss Gimble over there a little bit later on.